Hey everybody, welcome to TomGirl, where we talk all things sports, entertainment, fashion, and adventure. Tonight, we have one of the world's top fashion models. She's been on the cover of Elle, Vogue, GQ, and others. And not only that, she is also a host, actor, producer, and woman after my own heart, dog lover. Stay tuned for Mini Anden.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome back, everybody, to another TomGirl Tuesday. I'm your host, JJ Jurgens, and Minnie, welcome. Thanks for joining.
You. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. Like I was telling you before the interview, it was just so fun looking at all your photos and the portfolio of your career because it's just spectacular.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let's begin starting. You said it's a long one. Let's start back with the early days, maybe even before you got into modeling. So
yeah, I mean, I never really thought of modeling or anything. It just kind of, I had a teacher in school and her daughter worked at an ad agency, and she asked my teacher if there was any kids in her class that she thought could, oh, that was weird.
we can hear your mic.
That had any kids that, could do some fashion shows and whatever. And she thought of me, so I ended up doing it, which was when I was like 10 years old.
Hey, sorry guys, real quick, Jonathan, we can hear, thank you. And just so you know, I lost my monitor again, but we're rolling with it today.
Yeah, we're going with it.
Okay.
It's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Okay, so back to, so she got you into it. So.
Yeah. So I started doing it as a 10-year-old and back in Sweden, which is, I think, quite different from if you do it here in America. It was just, quite simple and no hair, no makeup, nothing like that. But so I got into doing some jobs here and there. And then by the time I was 13, 14, I was with an agency who had been booking me all these kids' jobs, and then they saw that, oh, this girl's actually growing. She's actually tall and skinny, and maybe she can actually, continue modeling. So that's kind of how it continued. And then I would go and model in the summers, or I would take time off from school if I booked a job. And basically, it was just if I kept my grades up, then my mom would let me go and work. So. It was a good balance.
Was it at the time too? You were you loved ice skating. We have some early pictures of you ice skating. Was that something you had to give up to make a choice?
No. So my sister actually was the one who started skating, and then because I'm the younger sister, I was always by the rink, hanging out. So then my mom just ended up putting me on the ice. So that's kind of how that happened. And being tall and skinny, great for modeling, not so great for figure skating. But I did it for until I was like 16 or 17, 5 times a week, and I would compete during the weekends, and in the summer times I would go and do like a month of figure skating camp, and then I would go for 2-3 weeks to New York or to Paris to model, and so I was kind of busy.
Were there any aspects of ice skating that helped you in the modeling career?
I think so, because since I'm kind of gangly, and I do have a pretty good control of my body. Body movements and stuff like that. So maybe I'm a little bit more graceful than I would have been otherwise. Maybe.
Speaking of those body movements, like how do you find like you have a very distinguished, walk on the runway or how to pose certain ways for shots?
Yeah. Well, I'd say this. If you're on a shoot and you're doing really high fashion and you're wearing these amazing designers, the clothes kind of speak for themselves, and they kind of you just kind of lean into it, and you don't have to do that much if you're wearing something amazing. It's when you have to model stuff that might be a little more boring, less interesting, that's when you really kind of have to bring it out and give it life.
How are ways that you do that?
I'm so comfortable with it now, but I remember in the beginning of my career, like how it just felt so silly, like moving around and like fake moving and you know, fake turning or doing whatever it is that they wanted you to do. But, you know, now I'm just kind of, it's autopilot and I do it. And you just realize like they need one shot. So there's going to be like 200 that might look crazy because you're in movement, but then there's just one that's needed. So you just have to kind of keep going and just trust that they're going to catch the moment, basically.
That
makes sense?
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure. Yeah, just one gem in the midst of all of those.
Yeah,
that you need.
exactly. Yeah.
So when you tell me about making the decision when you were like, okay, yes, you know, I want to do this. I'm going to move to New York. What kind of thoughts were going through your mind?
So I was always really serious about my education. So when I was 19, I finished I guess it's the Swedish version of high school, I guess, like before university. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go and model for 2-3 years. I'm going to earn money to buy an apartment and not, you know, work up any student loans. And I'll go back and I'll go to university. So that was the idea. And I moved to Paris first because it was only 2.5-hour flight from Stockholm. So it kind of felt a little bit more comfortable not moving too far away. And, you know, I have a love for Paris, but living there was not really... it didn't really suit me. So I wasn't really happy with it. And the business there is also different. It's just very kind of, everything is always like the glass is half empty. It's never like half full, you know? So I was a little over it. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll give it another shot. I'll go to New York. And I moved there and pretty much met my husband straight away.
Another model, correct?
Another model, yeah, we met on a job. And New York is just the best. And, you know, as a young person living in New York, and I mean, it was just amazing. So then I just kept working and a career sort of, you know, really happened there. And I got really busy and I never went back to school. It just kind of kept rolling. So here I am without an education.
I think you're doing just fine.
41 years old.
I think you're just
no,
doing
but part
fine.
of me is like still feels that way. You know, it's like, oh my God, like I have this career, but sometimes I say to my friends, like I feel like I have a sort of a pretend job in a way, you know, because I didn't go through like years and years of studying, and it's interesting. And all of a sudden, because you know, all of a sudden I'm 41 and this is my, you know, this is how I make my money, and it's great, but it's just, you know, I used to be so serious about
About the education. Yeah. Well, you could always go back and take a class, or or just study things that you're interested in.
It's true. It's
true. Yeah. So we have a few of the covers that you've done. So you've done Elle, GQ, Glamour, Vogue, pretty much everything out there. How was it for you when you started seeing yourself appear on the cover of all these magazines?
I don't know if I mean, I always thought it was fun seeing it. And actually, you know, I come from the days of actually shooting film. So it was always like you shot Polaroids and then you shot film, and it was kind of a surprise when stories came out. Now because it's digital, like you know what the story is going to look like. You get to see it, and so it used to be very exciting. And now, of course, I mean, I'm still, you know, it's still fun to see it come out, but normally now you have an idea of what it's going to be. So it's a little different.
How are other ways that the industry has changed over the years?
I think it's changed. We talked a little bit about that earlier before we went on air, that, you know, I'm still like, I'm 41, I'm still working, and I feel like there's still a market for me. And I feel like people really do want to identify with the people that are wearing the clothes. And if you're a 40 to 60-year-old woman, you don't want to see a 19-year-old, or, I mean, it's great too, but like you might not buy the outfit. I feel like they kind of want to identify, and so and there's a lot of models now that are still like my age, they're still working, and it didn't, I don't think it really used to be that way. And I think people are still like, oh my God, you're still working. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm not that, you know, and it's like, there's a lot out there.
What do you think? I know we talked a little bit about this too, that some of the reasons why your career has lasted, continued to last.
Well, I think I didn't burn myself out. I always had a family life, and I mean, I feel like I could have always been I could have pushed myself a little bit harder, but I always wanted to keep that balance. So I did say no to a lot at one point when I was at the height of my career. When it came to, because I was like, I can't be, you know, I tried to not be gone for more than 2 weeks at a time, and that kind of stuff. So I feel like I've lasted, you know, and I never, I didn't go down like the road of drugs and hardcore partying and all that stuff. So I mean, we've all dabbled in stuff, but that's a different story, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like I just kind of, and I've been blessed with like really nice people around me, a good team, and great clients, and you know, the people that I work with now, like I have a lot of regular people, regular clients that I work with. I mean, we're all friends, and it's great. You know, it's like we all have a job to do and we do it, but we also have a lot of fun. So yeah, I've always been a big believer in that. Like you need to have fun with what you do. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've also done been the face of a lot of different brands, Hugo Boss, Banana Republic, all those. Any jobs in particular that just really kind of stand out for you, or shoots, or like really, really fun ones?
Yeah, I've always loved, I think maybe it was one of my first like Hugo Boss. It was probably my first Hugo Boss fragrance I did with, the Boss one right there. It was shot by Peter Lindbergh. Who is one of my favorite photographers, who I started with when I was like maybe 16 or 17. And we shot it in Arles in south of France. And it was just a great experience all the way around, and still like one of my favorite images. Yeah, it was fun. And the last time I worked with him was actually when I was pregnant, because we did a little makeup job together. And because they were only seeing my face, it was okay. I was 6 months pregnant, and then he actually shot a beautiful nude of me. So I have a Peter Lindbergh.
Wow.
Yeah, of me
that's
nude,
fantastic.
Pregnant with my baby. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great memory.
Yeah.
What is like a typical photo shoot day like? And I'm sure they all change. But
Yeah, they're all different. Like it depends on what kind of job it is. But if it's a more commercial job, like you have an early call time. You get there and you do hair and makeup, and you know, it is different from job to job. It's like some jobs are 9 to 5, some jobs are from super early in the morning to late at night. And for me now at this stage of my career, I feel like I do a little bit more of the lifestyle commercial stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's work. But it's still, I mean, like I said, like a lot of the times I get to work with people that I know. So we have a banter and we get everything done, but we also have a good time.
One of the jobs you also worked out was Victoria's Secret,
Yeah.
and their fashion show.
Yeah.
And I mean that's huge now with
Now
being
it
a
is,
TV
yeah.
show and all that.
It's funny,
Yeah.
like now I see like just as if a girl does like one Victoria's Secret show, she doesn't even really have to have that big of a career in her, you know. It's just like, oh my God, she's and you're like, wow, okay. And that's because that's what the industry has, you know, what it leans to. But I did a show, I think I did their first like really big show in 2001, I think it was, in the south of France during like Cannes Film Festival. And I mean, it was before it was like this ginormous, that's the start of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's such a long time ago. And it was amazing. Yes, we did that show. And then I did maybe 2 or 3 shows after that. But I was never a VS model. I just did their shows because basically whatever girls were doing all the shows, like, so you go and you do New York and you do Milan and Paris and London in between. And it's kind of that thing of like, if a girl is popular, it tends to do all the shows, and all the designers want her. And so whoever the designers wanted, we were kind of at one point I was a girl in that group. So they would just book whatever girls were the you know, the popular showgirls basically. So I ended up doing it, even though I'm not like a voluptuous woman, you know. But yeah, it was fun.
Well, are there any things that surprised you about the industry or your career that you like, oh, I didn't see that one coming and going in, or?
No, I feel like I've been pretty sheltered from stuff, maybe. It hasn't, I mean, there's been some crazy stuff, sure, with like photo shoot with different photographers who are known to be crazy, and, you know, Tara Richardson, for example. I don't know if you know who he is, but yeah, he is he's
Known to be crazy.
Yeah. And just, you know, being on jobs with people like that, and you kind of just have to go with the flow, and you're like, oh my God, this is interesting. But no, nothing really too crazy.
What were maybe some things business-wise that you learned about the modeling industry, or your own being, you know, kind of the head of your own career here?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's really good training just to be around people all the time and people that you do not know. You kind of become fast friends. You learn to kind of socially mingle and handle yourself, which I feel is very important in any job. And, you know, just to, God, business advice, it's like from me. No, but it's, I mean, it is, after all, it's a career, you know, and I've always looked at it that way. So,
I mean, maybe,
you know,
you
have to kind of, you know, it's a job. Like, you can't just be like, I think it's different nowadays too, but back in the day it was a little bit too much partying from a lot of the people, I think. You know?
Were there any mentors or people in your life that made a difference?
Yeah, like, you know, I had an agent for a very long time that was, you know, she treated me like family. So she was always looking out for me, and like I said, I was always protected, I feel, always taken care of. So I never felt, because it can be very lonely, you know, you're on the road by yourself and you're a young girl, and it can be really difficult. That's the challenge, and that has been the challenge for me, and still sometimes is, you know, it's like that's just you. And it's not always fun. Like, it would be great if you had like a travel mate.
Yeah.
That was always with you, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like another, you have your employee, you know, that you work with in other places, and then you don't have,
and you can hire an assistant, but hey, then I'm like paying the person to like, that's not the way I want it. Yeah.
Well, you also made the jump then over to film and TV. So let's talk about some of those projects a little bit. You were in The Mechanic. with Jason Stratham.
That was great. I went in and auditioned for it, and it was a complete different character at that point. And it was actually one of those auditions where I went in and I was meeting the director, and we were in the casting room, and I could hear like the phone. It was like the paper thin walls, and I could hear like the office, you know, next door. And so I was distracted, and I was going through my scene. I just felt like I was like, oh, this is not going the way I want it to go. And I just felt like I started like sweating, and I could like, it felt like they could see sweat running down my face. Anyway, I finished it, and I went out, and I never normally do this, because I'm normally always like, I like to keep my sides for, you know, I don't want to throw them away, because that's like a sign of like, it's over. But I was like, I just like, screw this, basically. I just threw it and like, this sucked. And I actually, ended up booking it.
Got it.
Which is funny. And then I've had many other auditions where I've walked out of there being like, yes, this was awesome, and it's led nowhere. So like, I've just learned that you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
How was, for you transitioning over to acting, did you take classes, or did you just go with it?
It's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but I was not brave enough to do it, I think. And then I had there was a model actually who had booked a role in a TV show in a pilot many years ago called Beck and Call, and she canceled last minute. And whoever had booked her, I knew him through some people, and he thought of me, and he called me up and he said, hey, do you think you could step in and do this? Can you do like an Eastern European accent? And could you? And I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I did it, and it worked out, and it was really fun. And then he started just sending me out. And I became his little, because he was with UTA at the time, so he started sending me out on the side until I started booking stuff, and then I officially joined them for a while, and started, you know, going out and booking stuff. And in the beginning, for me, the way in was playing a model, and then that kind of led to other stuff, you know, when I guess proved that I could do more, which is like, it's not even, I don't mind playing a model, but it's always so like just... it's like this typical, like, this is what a model is. And you're like, no, it's not. Like, I don't care if her profession is being a model, but let's have, like, could she be a person too, maybe?
That's something I definitely wanted to ask you about. Because I feel like a lot of them, in the shows we see, it's like the stereotypical, maybe not so smart, or she's,
totally.
Well, one role where you really, I loved, was one of my favorite shows, was Nip Tuck.
Oh, yeah.
And you played a model, but a model who was tired of being beautiful and being judged for her beauty. Tell me about playing that role a bit.
That was really cool, actually, because I got to do prosthetics. So I got to have, and it was like a 9-hour process. First, I had to go and get it like molded to my face. And then I had to, it was so 9 hours to get that done. And it was really, it was interesting to see myself that way, actually. It hit me in a different way than I thought. And it was I mean, I love the show, and I also love the actors on the show. And so it was a really great great time for me.
I was curious how that hit you, because a lot of your dialogue talked about how you were tired of being this person who just is judged on her beauty, or who guys like just want to sleep with, or who that, you know, having. So I wondered if there was any sort of emotional things that kind of happened for you.
Before I got the messed up face, which is also kind of funny that it was only my face that was messed up and like nothing else.
Well, and because she drives a car straight into
like my neck
cement
is
thing, right?
She first shaved her head. And she was like, look at me now. Like, this is when he's like, no, you're still attractive kind of thing, you know? And it was funny because I'd be walking through the lot and it looked so good. So if you weren't up close to me, like, it looked like I was this bald girl walking around, you know? And it's just, people look. It's just a different thing. And like, imagine walking around looking like that and the attention that you would get from other people. That's the interesting part too. You know, it's just, it was an interesting experience, and I loved it. But I also realized, like, oh my God, I have such respect for actors who do movies for months and months and months with prosthetics, because it's not fun.
Sitting through that every day.
God, yeah. And then how it's itching, and then it was like an emotional scene, so I was kind of crying, and so snot would run through this fake nose where like I couldn't blow. I mean, it was just gross. I was like, yeah,
that's great. Are there some other roles out there that you maybe would want to try playing? Or
I would, yeah. I mean, I'm open to a lot of stuff. I feel like I finally look a little bit older, because I feel like for a time there, like I was the young girl, and then I wasn't the roles that I would go in for was like, you know, a mother of 3, or like I just playing a regular person, and they didn't fit me yet. And now I feel like I have more maturity, so I feel like I can, you know, that it would go over better.
Yeah, what a fun thing in this industry where it's usually about trying to be younger, you know, or no, to be like, now we can embrace different roles and opportunities.
It's so funny because I remember going in for like this horror movie. It was like it was a Chainsaw Massacre or something, like, and it said that, oh, I was reading for the younger sister, and it said that she was like just a tomboy, you know. So I'm like, oh, I went in jeans and a t-shirt and no makeup, and then I left and like, yeah, we want to see her back, but you know, she really wasn't that pretty. Like, could you tell her to, like, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, so they do want me to come in with like a push-up bra and, you know, full on make, you know what I mean? It was like you know, I wanted to do it the way that it was, that I read it, you know. And it's just so funny, but it was horror flick, so maybe that's, they still wanted like she's not supposed to be like, but she still needs to, do you know what I mean? So I learned that, like, okay, even if it's natural, like, you put your mascara on, girl, like, you still need to look like fresh. It's just stupid. That's why it was fun to do that too, like nip tuck. Like, I just always enjoy when it's a little bit more rough.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, that's the TomGirl attitude. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you also did some hosting for Sweden's Next Top Model.
Yeah.
How was that?
I mean, hosting I don't think is my thing. I tried it, but I think it's really hard. I mean, like, I admire, like, for you to, like, just hosting, just being you, but hosting is, like, really, if you're acting, you're not you. You can you can hide behind something, but when it's like, oh, hi, I'm Minnie Anden, and blah, 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 I was just like, oh, like, I don't think I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either.
And sometimes it's nice to have the lines laid out there for you, so you just know you have to.
And also a show like that is so, sorry, but it's so silly, because there is some truth to it, but not much. You know, it's like, okay, now it's your turn, and you have 10 frames to get it done. Like, no, you don't. You don't have 10 frames, you know, and you have to do it with a spider on your face. Like, I would not, no, I'm not going to do it with a spider. You know what I mean? It's like all these, like, so I had to tell these girls to do all these silly things that really wasn't, it's a TV show after all. You know, it's not really how it goes.
Yeah.
So I felt a little, I just felt a little silly, to be honest.
Any more of the, like, producer bug in you, or things that you would want to produce?
That was maybe in the future, but that was just like a short that we did a million years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're definitely, like, surrounded by a lot of creative people, so there's always stuff we want to do. But yeah, I think I prefer to be, like, hired when it comes to the acting stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's the fun one. Just, you know, just show up and play and be, you know, be
exactly.
present and have a good time.
Exactly. And not be, like, responsible for the whole situation.
Yeah. I understand that completely. Well, we talk a little bit about travel here. So since you're from Sweden, I wanted to kind of pick your brain about if somebody was to travel to Sweden, or what your favorite, you know, places are.
Yeah. I mean, Sweden is great. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's been there who didn't love it. Definitely, like summertime is my favorite time to go, July or August. And so I'm from Stockholm, which has the most beautiful archipelago. It's like 30,000 islands outside of Stockholm, and it's magical. But we used to always go to the West Coast in the summertime because my mom from down there, and she was a teacher, so she would always have like 3 months off in the summer. So we would go down to the West Coast, and it's the sand beaches, so we would spend our time there, which is also, gorgeous and kind of like that beach life. But yeah, Sweden has a lot to offer and so much good food, and people are nice. Everybody speaks English. It's easy, They have a good fashion sense. It's a fun place.
So outside of Sweden, do you have any spots that are your go-to places?
We don't travel so much. I travel for work, but like we are such homebodies. My husband actually isn't really a homebody, but I've kind of like, I guess I'm making one. But like, but also because we have like 7 dogs.
Yeah.
And we got to get like that one dog sitter that they love. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not as easy as it used to be. But my absolute like favorite place I ever went was Kenya. We went and stayed at this Cotter Safari, and it was just magical. And I would love to take our son is 6 now. I'll wait a couple of years till he's older, so he will really remember and take it all in. But it was such an experience. So beautiful.
Well, speaking of the dogs, I want to talk about dogs more. We have a picture with all your dogs.
Yeah.
So cute. So tell me about, where your passion for the animals came from.
So it comes from my mom, actually. Like, she's even worse than I am. Like, I will stop. Like, every dog that walks by, I have to say hi to. And my husband's just like, oh my God. Like, you're like, and my mom is the same. And I almost get embarrassed by her sometimes. I'm like, Mom. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm just the same. It's ridiculous. And now it was so cute because we went to the farmer's market on Sunday, me and my son Felix, and there were so many dogs there, and he kept pointing them all out, and he was like, I want to go say hi. And I'm like, okay, it's passed on. It's passed on. And one of the ladies were like, do you know how to say hi to a dog? Do you know, you put your hand out? I'm like, he's got 7. Like, he knows. It's fine. But yeah, I've always loved animals. We had a dog growing up, and when I came to New York, actually we got our first dog there, and it was actually from a pet store, which is absolutely horrific, but I didn't know better at the time. Now I'm all into dog adoption and dog rescue in general, and have absolutely would never go and buy a dog, but they're still there. They sit there and people walk by, and but yeah, so that's how it started, and then we've just kept adding, and then we've lost a few from old age, and every time we lose one, I'm like, okay, well, you know what, we're not getting any more dogs right now, and then there's like, I saw this Chihuahua like 2 years ago. Now she was like 10 or something in the shelter, and I was like, oh well, like, cause I had to follow all the rescue sites, and and I was like, I will just take her home, and I'll find a home for him, no problem. Of course, she stayed, So the foster fail is what I call her.
Yeah. I get that one. But
so I'm like, I do want to do more of that in the future, but I need to have a better setup.
Yeah.
It's if they come in, like, they stay with me in the bed, then it might be a little tricky.
I love the foster fail because when I first moved out here, you're in apartments, and I was like, I can't have a dog, but I tell my mom back home in Nebraska, I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm just gonna go foster at this place. Like, you can take them out for hikes, and then you bring it back, and it's great. Yeah. And she's like, how that's gonna go. Like, the first time it was this,
exactly.
By the third time I'm in tears. Like, I can't take him back there. There's no way. And then
no. You have to find him. And I tried to find her home, and I found a great couple, and then they took her home, and then they kind of changed their minds, and I kept thinking, okay, so what if because I was like, listen, anything, and you call me, like, she's coming back to me if you even have, and I thought, oh, what if I keep like having her place with people, and then they keep changing their minds, like, then she's gonna get completely messed up. So I couldn't do that to her. So yeah, it's I have to have a better setup, and when we have, we're dreaming of farm life, so when that happens, which hopefully will be soon, then I'll have I'll do my foster barns and really go for it.
Are there any particular rescues that you work with?
Well, I really love deity, and Ellen, who is the girl there that I know is amazing, and they go to the shelters and pull dogs out, and fosters them and vets them, and then finds them homes. And I think actually that's a great thing, because I feel like for anyone who wants to get a dog, it's very intimidating to walk into a shelter. And the dogs are also not showing themselves the best way in a shelter because the environment is horrible. Like they're sitting on cement floors with bars. Like who would be, and they might be barking. A big dog might be barking. Yeah, and it looks like it's aggressive. It's not, but it's terrified. So them taking these dogs out and then kind of, showing them in a calm environment is so great. And then people can come in and they can really find a good fit. Because a lot of people too, I mean, that's the problems with like, pet stores and people are like, oh my God, it's so cute, I'm gonna get this dog. And you're like, oh no, that's a husky. You don't want a husky. You might, but then you need to have that lifestyle.
Yeah. People don't know which breeds match their lifestyle best.
So I think it's really great. And then they can kind of, find the perfect family for that dog. Because it's, I mean, of course, like you fall in love with what a dog looks like, but that's only so much. You need to find a dog that really fits your life.
Yeah, for sure. For you and the dog to make it both
and
fair.
I love it now. Every time, all our friends have dogs now. And like I said to you, I'm like, oh, whenever you're ready for another dog. Like, I'm just like, I'm constantly like scrolling through all the rescue sites and I'm just like finding dogs for people and like sending them. And, a lot of the times it doesn't work, but my neighbors right across the street, they went and they got one of the dogs to send them. And it was like probably the 15th dog I sent. I was like, oh, I can't keep doing that. She kept saying, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And I was like, I have to send this dog. There's something about this dog. And I sent it. And we were in Sweden at the time. And we came back and she's like, guess what we did when you were gone? And she's the sweetest dog. And she's like, she just fits right. I mean, it's so great.
Yeah, doesn't it make you feel so good?
It's like the one thing, but like that's one thing that I can be proud of. Anyway, like I did one good thing.
Yeah, you saved a life. Yeah. And it's fun watching them change and grow too.
So
once
amazing.
they get out, once they feel the love, how their personalities just really.
Yeah, and also like how it just completes a family in general, I think. Like I said before, it's like it's a house or it's a home. A home has an animal, like a pet, a dog, a cat, whatever you want. But I think it's great, and I think it's, if you're not allergic and have other problems and no time, because you really shouldn't get a dog if you can't care for it. But if you can care for it, I think it's just such a great environment for your kids to grow up in, for our son especially, because he's an only child. And he's used to getting the attention, but he still has to share it with 6 dogs, 7 dogs now. And a lot of them, 3 of them now are really old, so they need a lot of special attention. And it's like, no, Felix, you gotta help, I gotta specially feed Gus now, and I gotta do this. And it's like, it's kind of good.
Especially I think it also gives them, responsibility and understanding how to take care of things and seeing compassion. I mean, I remember my dog being like my best friend, growing up, I'd tell all the secrets too. So probably him being an only child too, having that companionship.
Yeah, even like now,
play with.
And it's like, you don't have to be scared, buddy's in bed with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's really sweet. I love seeing him and his love for animals. And that's, that's also why, he doesn't eat meat. my husband eats meat. I'm a vegan now. And my son is he's a pescatarian. He eats fish, but and today he said, Mom, it's like, why don't you eat cheese anymore? Why don't you do milk? And I was like, because I just really felt like a hypocrite doing it. Like I really don't want to. I just, the cows are not happy. Whatever people say, they're not. And it's not natural. And I don't want to do it. And he's like, he still eats cheese, right? So he's like, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But I didn't have enough knowledge when, and I was worried that he was going to lack something. So I was like, okay. But now it's like, well, I'm hoping you'll be ready, soon, and we can slightly move over to it. And as I'm getting more and more educated about it. And if he chooses to eat meat when he's older, he can. But I felt like it was so weird to me, this whole thing of like him loving animals so much, and then me not being honest about like where it comes from. Yeah. Listen, if you choose to eat meat, like everybody does their own thing, like that's fine. But I feel like it's such a taboo thing. Like you can't tell kids like, they should make like an animated movie about like a milk cow who gets her calf ripped away from her. But we can't talk about that. But we could see Dumbo at the circus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, it happens. Yeah. But that's no. It's like, oh my God, don't talk about it. Don't talk what's in the hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's weird to me because we're so like aware of things nowadays.
Yeah.
But then there's still so much that's just like, nope. Don't talk about that. That's and it felt weird to me to do that to him. And literally people are like, what are you going to do when he says he wants to eat meat? I'm like, well, if he's old enough, I'm going to show him videos of what happens in the slaughterhouse. And then if he still wants to eat meat, then he can do that, So maybe it's a little harsh, but I don't know. I'm trying, you know.
No, I think it's great to make them aware of everything.
Yeah.
Experience. Juice.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see. We have some time left, so I'm going to do real quickly here a little TomGirl quiz to find out quick rapid fire questions just to find out what type of TomGirl that you are.
Okay.
So easy questions, but okay. So would you choose cold beer or a spicy margarita?
A spicy margarita.
Okay. City or the country?
Country.
Your favorite adventure?
A favorite adventure, probably like, oh my God, I'm not so adventurous, I think. Maybe maybe backpacking, but I need to be able to stay in a cabin every night.
Maybe some glamping somewhere.
Yeah, it's not so tomboyish, is it? I just know myself by now.
Yeah, no, it's good. It still is. Any mottos or words to live by?
I should probably know something, right?
That's kind of a tough one because I don't know what I would say with that.
I don't know. Like basically, I think like it pays off just being yourself, because if people don't like you, they're still gonna find out who you are later on. So just like be yourself from the start.
Okay.
You know.
And the last thing that you did that scared you?
That scared me. Well, so going on small airplanes, I don't like it, and I do it. There's like, don't like it.
Then the number one thing left on your bucket list.
I have so many more things left, but I do want to go. One of the things that I do want to do is actually in Nairobi. I want to go stay at the Giraffe Hotel. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So lastly, is there any advice you would give for people who are, maybe young girls out there or men dreaming of wanting to be, a fashion model, get into the modeling industry?
I mean, my way into it wasn't so traditional. It just kind of like happened, and I started doing it. And if you want to pursue it, of course, like you can go to a reputable agency and do some test shots. Just make sure you go to people that actually are not just stealing your money, but people that actually know what they're doing. And if it doesn't work out, like there's so much other stuff to do. It's just people put a lot of, I don't know. You strive for doing stuff that makes you happy. And I don't know if that's necessarily the business that. It's a tricky one. I don't know how to put words on it, but I just don't think that like as a young girl or young man, it's like, oh, I want to be a model. It's like, okay, well, what is it that you want from it then? Is it really like modeling, or is it the fame? Like, what is it that you want from it? And like I said, I've been lucky enough to have a career that has lasted, and I've been surrounded by great people, but it can also go another way.
Yeah. And also probably because you did have that other balance and the other parts of your life going on that you were interested in.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Anything coming up or any campaigns where we can see you in soon or where people can find you?
Well, yes. Well, right now, I saw that you have that, like, the Italian Elle that's out now with all the doggies.
Yeah. Can we put that one back up?
That's sweet.
You guys want to talk about the Elle magazine cover with the dog with the blue eyes?
And then we actually also did a Vogue Living.
That one, yeah.
That's open. That's out now. But then there's also a Vogue Living Netherlands. Actually, it's coming out in June with my house, because my husband's really interested, and so am I, in architecture and designing and stuff. So we did a little home story, which was really fun. So that's coming out. And then, just...
What's your home style?
This house that we have now is quite Swedish, actually. Everything is white and like white wood floors, and it's built in 1939. But it's also very cozy, like a lot of ethnic rugs and all that stuff. But we call it the White House. So it's like, okay, but it's a, the White House.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It was an absolute treat to get to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
You're
so
beautiful inside and out. So it was so much fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that wraps up another week. We will see you here again next week. Have a great one.
All right.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.